They didn't answer with words. They answered with burn patterns, orbital fire, and a fleet that blacked out the stars. In our desperation, we sent a signal to the one species we swore never to trust again, and when Earth came, they didn't come to save us. They came to end the war in the only way they knew how, with fire and fury. The Karniks swarmed through the stars like a plague with teeth, a biomechanical tide that cracked planets and drank their atmospheres. Worlds once etched with civilization now floated silent and jagged, shrouded in the ash of their own people. The Galactic Council had rallied fleets, thrown weapons, sacrificed colonies, but nothing slowed the horde. They didn't bargain. They didn't bleed. They devoured. On the 7th cycle of the Draxian siege, with the last defensive wall disintegrating above the capital moon, the Council made a decision it had sworn never to revisit. A long-sealed beacon was activated, its code wrapped in dead languages and locked beneath layers of shame. The signal was sent into the dark. Not to allies. Not to friends. To Earth. Centuries had passed since humanity had vanished from the galactic stage. After the Rigel uprising, after the betrayals, after their last ambassador was murdered on council floor, Earth had gone silent. No trade. No treaties. Just a digital wall and a warning. Do not call again. But now they did. And the silence that followed stretched just long enough for panic to bloom, until it broke. Message received. 2 words. No signature. No coordinates. No delay. Just confirmation. Then, the stars above the Draxian front began to die. It started as gravitational anomalies, space folding in unnatural ripples. Scanners failed. Communications went dark. Fleet commanders shouted into static. Then they saw them. Earth's ships didn't enter normal space like others. They tore through it, punching holes in reality, sharp-edged and black as obsidian. Their surfaces bent light. No insignias. No windows. Just angles and heat blooms. The first salvo wasn't a warning. It was a decapitation. A Karnik's command hive, a moon-sized construct of bone steel and synaptic towers, was struck from orbit. No explosions. No fanfare. Just a kinetic rod descending at terminal velocity, turning the hive into a mushroom of glowing ruin. Then came the gravitic imploders, silent devices launched into enemy formations that collapsed mass into micro-singularities. Ships twisted, bent, and vanished into nothing. Council commanders watched, stunned, as the impossible unfolded. 7 Karniks fleets were reduced to debris fields within hours. Earth's fleet moved like a coordinated disease, cutting through systems with surgical precision and no hesitation. On board the lead vessel Vindicator, General Rourke Maddox stood with arms folded behind his back. Mid-50s, tall, armored in matte black command gear that bore no rank insignia. His face, lined but unreadable, stared into the forward holosphere where the next target blinked red. "Begin excision protocol," he said. Officers snapped into motion. No one questioned. No one hesitated. This wasn't a rescue mission. It was eradication. A junior officer turned, voice low. "Sir, Council observers are attempting contact. They're requesting." Maddox cut him off. "We didn't come to coordinate." The next system held a hive world teeming with Karniks factories and birthing grounds. Council fleets had lost 3 armadas trying to breach it. Earth's fleet didn't engage directly. They dropped a climate core into orbit, altering the world's thermodynamics in under an hour. Storms rose, skies shattered, oceans boiled. Then came the orbital bombardment, synchronized, rhythmic, calculated. By the time the nanite swarms were released, there was no one left to scream. On a council ship floating far behind the front, Ambassador Kelsar watched the feed with trembling hands. "They're not even speaking to us. They're not taking prisoners." No one responded. Because Earth wasn't there to talk. In the battlefields below, Karnik's forces tried to adapt, mutating mid-battle, forming new armor layers, growing signal disruptors. Earth's countermeasure was immediate. Tactical weather systems deployed by drone clusters, flooding their formations with ionized vapor. The Karniks lost cohesion. Ground troops advanced behind sonic cannons and phased weapons that burned without heat, without sound, just erasure. A Karnik's behemoth, one of their genetically grown war queens, emerged from the wreckage, lashing at Earth troops with biomechanical limbs. Maddox gave one word: dissect. Two drones split from a high-altitude crawler and sliced through the creature mid-motion, its body liquefying in midair as its nervous system was inverted by a nanovirus. The entire process took 6 seconds. Council fleets tried to offer support. Earth ships ignored them. After the third wave, the front stabilized. For the first time in months, the Karniks' advance halted. But no cheers echoed from Earth's ships. No messages of unity were broadcast. The only sound that followed was the mechanical hum of rearmament. Inside the Vindicator, Maddox walked alone through the observation corridor. Behind reinforced glass, the stars drifted past, twisted and smeared by the fleet's mass field. An AI voice whispered, "Next strike window available in 93 minutes." He gave no reply. In a war room deep below the council chamber, leaders debated whether calling Earth had been a mistake. Whether they had invited a predator into a den of sheep. Maddox's voice cut into their secure line without warning. His image filled the chamber, expression neutral, tone surgical. "We received your call for help," he said. "We will finish the war." He paused. "But let me be clear. We're not here to save you. We're here to erase the threat. Don't mistake our presence for allegiance. When this ends, we leave. If any of you interfere again..." He glanced aside as another Karnik system marked for cleansing pinged green. "You'll be next." The feed cut. In the next 24 hours, 4 more Karnik sectors fell. The tide had turned, not because of diplomacy, or alliance, or hope, but because Earth had remembered what it was. Not a partner. Not a peacekeeper. A weapon. And someone had dared to ask it to be used. The Karnik's hive world of Brechtel Prime had survived 8 major assault attempts. It was a fortress of living metal and shifting towers, its skies clouded by self-healing drones and its crust laced with organic artillery nodes. Council fleets had thrown everything they had at it and failed. Earth didn't send fleets. Earth sent judgment. General Rourke Maddox watched from the command interface aboard Vindicator as the targeting data finalized. The hive world was already locked into a 5-tiered extermination protocol. No conversation. No ceremony. Just elimination. "Time to orbital entry?" he asked without turning. 2 minutes 12 seconds, sir," said his comms officer. "Release Hammer Group." "Begin Atmo rupture," Maddox said. The first wave of weapons wasn't explosive. They were stabilizers, rods drilled into Brechtel's tectonic plates to suppress natural resistance. The second wave ignited the atmosphere. Superheaters fried the upper stratosphere in synchronized burns, collapsing cloud layers and igniting air in flash torrents. Firestorms tore across the sky before any Karnik's defenses could respond. Within minutes, the planet's biosphere was ablaze. The Hellmarch battle group began its descent, 6 carriers, dozens of drop cruisers, and precision gunships moving in unison, deploying payloads designed for erasure. Nanite casters sprayed particulate death across cities. Biological inhibitors rendered hive reproduction inert. Maddox didn't blink. A feed came through from one of the forward squadrons. Infantry had landed near a Karnik spire. Towering figures of bone and steel met them in combat, but Earth's troops didn't engage with bullets. A single flick of their command AI rerouted support from orbital drones, which painted the targets for vaporization. No one said a word. No one cheered. It was war by perfection. "Sir, Karnik's reinforcements are shifting from the northern hemisphere. Estimated 15,000 warforms," said an officer. "Intercept with Strider-class rail platforms. Full spread," Maddox ordered. The enemy never arrived. Mid-flight, they were reduced to high-altitude shrapnel, and the blast patterns were calculated so no debris fell near Earth troop zones. Precision was non-negotiable. Efficiency was doctrine. Humanity's war machine had evolved past reaction, it predicted. Inside the Karnix command structure, buried deep in a canyon crater, the alien queen form released a planetary distress pulse. Maddox intercepted it before it completed. Jamming fields to full. Execute Vault Breaker Protocol, he said. At once, Earth's mining-class warships reconfigured their hulls. These were not traditional weapons. Vault breakers burrowed through kilometers of reinforced rock using phased resonance. When they reached the inner command cavity, they detonated a containment inversion. The Karnix queen form collapsed inward, not as an explosion but as an implosion, sucked into itself, reduced to compressed ash. Council vessels still in orbit attempted to open comms. Maddox had ignored them until now. When he answered, it was not to speak. He opened the feed. On the display, Brechtel Prime, now cracked open, hemorrhaging black flame and lightning. No Karnix signals. No survivors. Only smoldering ruin where a civilization had stood. You asked us to handle it, he said. Handled. The Council's representative, a three-eyed Elisari diplomat named Kaldor, swallowed hard. That was not coordination. That was extermination. You've committed. You gave us permission. You just didn't understand the terms. We thought you'd assist. Reinforce. Fight alongside. We don't assist. Maddox interrupted. We end things. He cut the transmission. On the next Karnix-controlled moon, sensors picked up Maddox's fleet arrival before visual confirmation. By then, it was too late. The moon's defensive platforms activated, but Earth had already deployed its starlight refractors, beam weapons tuned to slice through gravity wells, bypassing shields and disassembling metal at a molecular level. The platforms dissolved mid-air. Maddox watched the timer tick down to 0 as Operation Scorchline activated. Dozens of beam strikes drilled through the moon's crust, targeting magma pockets, causing a synchronized chain reaction. The crust buckled. The moon cracked. As it split apart, a single message was sent on wideband frequencies. To the Karnix, Brechtel has fallen. Resistance is obsolete. Retreat or be erased. No reply. No retreat. A direct Karnix retaliation fleet emerged near the Draxian belt, 40 warships, thousands of drones, several capital-class hive carriers. It was a show of force meant to rattle Earth's resolve. It didn't. Maddox deployed Harrow Squad, an automated strike formation of unmanned, AI-enhanced vessels. They were not built to engage in traditional dogfights. Each one existed to fulfill one directive: break the enemy's will to resist. The fleet began its attack. Karnix ships lost control of their orientation within the first minute. Targeting systems failed next. Then came system breaches, human nanoviruses infecting their synaptic circuits, feeding them false data, turning their cannons on themselves. Within 16 minutes, the entire Karnix fleet had either self-destructed or drifted into their own minefields. Earth lost 0 ships. Maddox leaned toward the ops table. Time until next strike zone? He asked. 6 hours, 31 minutes, his adjutant replied. Cue orbital rearmament. Begin neural net simulations for anti-adaptive warfare. They're going to mutate. I want 6 counters in place before they finish thinking. The adjutant hesitated. Sir, the Council is demanding we slow down. They say you're destabilizing sectors not even contested. Maddox locked eyes with him. You want to win a war without destruction. They wanted results. We're giving them extinction. He turned back to the screen. All units maintain kill velocity. We are not here to win hearts. We're here to erase the Karnix. In the cold of deep space, humanity's fleet shifted course. The next system blinked red. Fire and Fury were inbound. The command deck of Vindicator pulsed with silent data feeds and threat projections. General Rourke Maddox stood before the holosphere, its surface etched with tactical overlays and enemy migration paths. One after another, Karnix systems blinked out, scorched from existence by precision, not passion. His fleet advanced like clockwork wrapped in artillery, efficient, emotionless, unstoppable. Next target, Corliss Sigma. Estimated 4 hive clusters. Minimal planetary defenses, the operations officer reported. Maddox's eyes didn't move. Begin orbital siege prep. No delay. Sir, the communications lead said, hesitating. Council priority channel. Level 1 override. He didn't answer. Should I block the feed? The officer asked. No. Let them speak. The holosphere flickered, replacing strategic data with the face of Counselor Almec of the Hellion block. His features were tight, voice sharpened by fear barely masked with protocol. General Maddox, we've reviewed your recent operations. The destruction of Brechtel Prime, the artificial implosion on Dalvith, and the planetary shattering at Moonreach, these are not containment measures. They are acts of unregulated annihilation. Correct, Maddox replied. Almec's face tightened. We authorized defense, not extinction. You authorized Earth's involvement, Maddox said, voice flat. What happens next is not up for negotiation. You are destabilizing our entire quadrant. Other species are calling emergency sessions. Even your allies are frightened. They should be. Almec's tone dropped. Stand down. You are hereby ordered to halt Operation Iron Eclipse and return fleet command to the Council Joint War Board. Maddox turned away from the projection. Terminate transmission. But the feed died. Commander Voss, Maddox said. Sir? Deploy Scrambler Net. Full spectrum jam across Council channels. Acknowledged. The bridge fell into a rhythm that was half prayer, half execution. Earth's ships slid into position above Corliss Sigma, their forms casting long shadows over the crust. Atmospheric filters choked the sky. Targeting arrays spun into lock. The operation had already begun. Down below, Karnak's forces had begun their mutation phase. Their bioforms shifted in structure, adapting to Earth's known tactics, constructing subterranean bunkers shielded by neuron deflection armor. Maddox reviewed the intel. Initiate Glasshawk protocol. Sir, those weapons are still in prototype phase. Now. 8 Glasshawk warheads launched from Vindicator's lower deck. They weren't explosives. They were consciousness inhibitors, bombs that disassembled neural networks on contact. Wherever they detonated, thought itself died. The bunkers collapsed inward. Karnak's defenders spasmed, lost coordination, and dropped. In the same moment, a Council ship broke orbit. The Harmony of Talos, a flagship cruiser, locked weapons on Vindicator. The intent was clear, coercion through display. Maddox's fleet didn't hesitate. Mark them hostile, he said. Eliminate the threat. No countdown. No last chance. Earth's side-mounted arc cannons activated, sending lances of energy into Harmony's engine cluster. The cruiser erupted from within, ripped open like fruit under pressure. Council Command watched helplessly as one of their own ships became a cautionary tale. A second Council fleet hesitated, engines warming but guns cold. They'll think better of it, Maddox said. He didn't gloat. He didn't justify. He moved to the next objective. On Corliss Sigma, a swarm of airborne Karnak's warforms broke atmosphere and charged toward Earth's deployment field. Activate Helldrop. Moments later, Earth's gravitic spires fired downward, manipulating magnetic resonance at ground level. A black dome spread across the deployment zone. When the Karnaks entered it, their organic wings collapsed under pressure shifts. They hit the ground as useless husks, their limbs twitching before going still. Contact re-established with forward scouts, Voss announced. Casualties? None. Advance. Clean sweep. On the far side of the system, Earth's stealth frigates eliminated fleeing Karnak's vessels attempting escape trajectories. Automated hunter drones intercepted all remaining traffic, carrying seismic payloads in their chests and detonation codes in their teeth. 16 hours later, Corliss Sigma was quiet. Maddox returned to the command table. The next sector blinked. We have a problem, said Voss. Council is broadcasting warnings across neutral channels. They're painting us as rogue. Other species are discussing collective sanction. Maddox didn't flinch. How many Karnak systems remain active? 4 major nests. 1 confirmed megabrood. Focus on the enemy. Not the background noise. Voss leaned in. Sir, what if they make us the enemy next? Maddox looked him in the eye. Let them. Counselor Almec's face returned on all emergency frequencies, uninvited, overriding jamming systems through diplomatic keys embedded centuries ago. General Maddox, you are in breach of interstellar law. Earth's excision protocol is terminated as of this moment. Any further aggression will be treated as an act of war. The holosphere zoomed in on Counselor Almec's coordinates. Target locked, Maddox said. Full charge. 1 round. Sir, he's on a neutral diplomatic station. 1 round. The cannon fired. Seconds later, Almec's face vanished in a flash of white. The diplomatic station blinked out of the tactical grid. Shock registered across all channels, but Maddox didn't wait for response. He looked over the crew. You were bred for war, he said. Built for precision. You don't hesitate because you don't need to. The enemy we were called to destroy still breathes. Until it doesn't, we are not done. The Council fears us because they forgot what a decisive species looks like. We're here to remind them. The crew said nothing. They simply turned back to their consoles. Earth's warpath resumed. The fleet hovered in the void like a gathering storm. General Maddox stood in the command deck, his hands folded behind his back, staring into the dark expanse where the last of the Karnak's resistance awaited. Around him, the crew worked without hesitation, each movement precise and mechanical. The plan was already set in motion. There was no need for words. Only action. The Council's interference had been expected, but Maddox hadn't been prepared for how fast they moved. Within hours of their transmission, fleets had been redirected. Their orders were clear. Earth was becoming the next target, a rogue entity operating beyond its mandate. But Maddox wasn't concerned with the Council anymore. He'd wiped out 4 Karnak systems in the past 24 hours. It was only a matter of time before the rest fell. There was no diplomacy, no retreat. The war had reached its zenith. Deploy all forward interceptors, Maddox commanded, his voice calm, unwavering. We don't give them room to maneuver. Understood, Voss responded. The tactical officer was sharp, eyes glued to the data streams flashing in front of him. Karnak's reinforcements arriving in 2 minutes, sir. But it looks like they're scrambling. The megabrood is attempting to retreat. Not on my watch, Maddox muttered, a slight edge to his voice. The war wasn't just about the physical conquest anymore. It was about making sure there was no escape for them. Cut off their exit route. Pin them in. Ready to initiate orbital blockades, sir, Voss replied, his fingers dancing over the controls. You'll have them boxed in within 5 minutes. Maddox nodded once, the resolve in his eyes as cold as ever. He turned to face the crew behind him. The Council wanted us to slow down. They thought we'd hesitate. Well, I'm not slowing down. We've been called for fire, and we'll burn this entire sector down if we have to. His words hit their mark. The crew responded with a quiet but shared understanding. This wasn't just a military operation anymore. This was a statement. The first wave of Earth's interceptors launched, sleek, black ships that sliced through the space around Vindicator like shadows. They swarmed the incoming Karnak ships, blocking every escape route the megabrood tried to take. Each interceptor engaged with brutal precision, tearing through the enemy lines with lasers that cut through hulls like paper. There were no questions, no second chances. The Karnaks didn't stand a chance. Maddox felt the intensity of the moment. The adrenaline was almost tangible, but he kept his face neutral. The tactical systems in the Vindicator were perfectly synced with the rest of the fleet, ensuring that every ship, every strike, was in harmony. We've got a fleet breakaway to the east. Targeting coordinates locked, Voss said. Intercept now, Maddox ordered without a moment's hesitation. The battle intensified as Earth's forces surrounded the last of the Karnak ships. They weren't running anymore, they were fighting to survive. But survival wasn't the goal. Earth wasn't here to negotiate. Earth was here to end it. A massive Karnak ship, its jagged form bristling with weapons, attempted to break through the blockade. Maddox's eyes narrowed. He didn't need to speak. The ship was already locked in the targeting matrix. Deploy singularity cannon. The hum of the weapons system filled the command deck as the massive energy cannon charged. The air in the room seemed to grow heavier with the anticipation of what was to come. The single shot, when it came, hit the Karnak ship square in the middle of its hull. A brilliant, impossibly bright explosion erupted as the ship's very atoms were torn apart, swallowed by a micro-black hole. Within seconds there was nothing left. Just empty space. The crew didn't cheer. They didn't need to. There was no satisfaction in this. Only duty. Enemy reinforcements are scattering, sir, Voss reported. The Megabrute's command vessel is trying to disengage. Not this time, Maddox said, his voice cool as ice. Track them. Prepare to engage. Locked on, Voss confirmed, a flash of excitement in his voice. They're not going anywhere. Maddox turned away from the holoscreen. What's the status on the Council fleet? Fleets are scrambling, sir. Some are trying to flank us from behind the asteroid field. They're trying to force a surrender. Maddox's lips twitched slightly as he considered the thought. Tell them we don't surrender. We end this. The last of the Karnak's resistance made one final stand. The Megabrute's command vessel, a massive spire of shifting organic matter and jagged metal, turned to face Earth's fleet. It attempted to unleash its remaining weaponry in a final act of defiance, firing energy pulses at Vindicator. The blasts bounced harmlessly off Earth's shields. A moment later, the shields retracted, and Maddox gave the order. Fire all remaining payloads. Finish them. The final round came from the fleet's remaining torpedoes, each one packing enough power to obliterate entire moons. They slammed into the command vessel, tearing it apart piece by piece. The last remnants of the Karnak's resistance were obliterated in a matter of seconds. The void was silent once again. Status on the Council fleet? Maddox asked, his voice still sharp. Fleeing, sir. They're turning tail and jumping into deep space, Voss replied, his voice tinged with disbelief. They're scared, sir. Good. Maddox allowed himself a single, cold smile. Let them be scared. He turned back to the battlefield. The Megabrute had fallen, and with it, the last remnants of the Karnak's threat. But Maddox knew that this victory, though complete, was only part of the story. The Council had tried to stop them. They had tried to control them. But now, there was no stopping Earth. There would be no more hesitation. No more diplomacy. All ships prepare for withdrawal, Maddox ordered. We leave no trace of them behind. Scorched Earth. The fleet moved in unison, like a single entity, leaving the shattered remains of the enemy behind. No treaties. No mercy. The war was over. But the message was clear: humanity had returned, and it would not be forgotten. As the last ship of Earth's fleet disappeared into the stars, Maddox stood alone on the command deck, his gaze fixed on the vast emptiness of space. This was the final word. The end of the beginning. And the universe would remember it.